continue on.
Well, thank you. I'm going to do a screen share now and pop off the screen for a second and show you a graphic I've done. Oops, it should roll up here. It's getting a little frozen here, so give it just a second. You guys can still hear me okay, right?
Yes.
So we're going to talk about something going on right now, which is Jupiter in Cancer. And Jupiter in Cancer is basically where wisdom is going at the moment. In fact, I should go off the screen for just a second and talk about just what Jupiter in Cancer is. Now, part of being magical is knowing where the currents of energy are going, because really magic is, once again, deliberately inserting intention in a consciousness. Consciousness is in everything. It's in this glass. It's in everything around us. Everything around us is aware of everything. This pen knows it's a pen. Everything is self-aware. And so when you are magical, you are literally speaking to the fields around you and calling, through law of attraction, elements, people, everything that are in alignment with your energy. So it's really important to kind of know where the weather is, and that's what we're going to be talking to. This is astro weather, and the astro weather is where is the universe putting surges of energy right now, and that's where astrology really helps you with your magic, because astrology says this is where the surges are. Now, the biggest surge of any energy is Jupiter. Jupiter, which is the focusing agent of our belief structure and what we believe. So, as far as consciousness is concerned, when Jupiter is in a sign, we are expanding that part of our soul. And as of recently, in the last 3 weeks, if you haven't noticed, things have gotten very emotional because Jupiter has moved into Cancer for the first time in 12 years. And that's the cycle of Jupiter, once every 12 years. That means what we believe is now hitting what we feel. And in essence, wisdom is getting emotional, or we're about to get wise about our emotions. And we have to basically grow up. So we're being told to grow up. But what this means from a wizard's perspective is that we're going to have an incredible amount of energy in the emotional field. And we don't have time to get super deep into the emotional field in this class, hangout or class. But the emotional field is the most important field of all the fields of doing magic. It turns out that passion is what gets the most things done, which is why you can be a simple-minded, passionate idiot and go very far, right? And you can be a cold genius and not go anywhere. And so passion is a very important part of magic. With Jupiter in Cancer, we're officially getting our potential for magic to turn on. Jupiter was in Gemini, so we were expanding our thoughts and ideas. But now that Jupiter's in Cancer, we're not just going to emotionally grow up as a world. Those who have magic will become more powerful, especially those who master their own emotions. So I thought we'd do a little astro history here. And that's why I brought this cool graphic. And astrohistory is one of my favorite things in astrology, because you can so clearly see when you look at the history of things of how it really plays out. And this graphic shows all the times in this century Jupiter was in Cancer. Now, Jupiter's back in Cancer from July 2013 to July 2014. The time before this was July 2001 to 2002. Now, this was basically 9/11. The 9/11 incident now hit us during that time. It hit the United States. It was a very emotional moment for the whole world. And it was emotional terrorism, if you will. And what did we do? We emotionally grew up. And, you know, it actually hit everyone personally everywhere. Of course, George W. Bush was our president, and he was a Cancer, if you don't know, is a Cancer. And so we had a Cancer president helping us as a Cancer nation when Jupiter was in Cancer. Coincidence? Sure. All right. So then we go to the time before that. It was July 1989 to July 1990. Guess who was president? George Bush Sr.
God.
Oh, that's interesting. All right. And I don't know if you remember 1989 to 1990, but I have some things that happened that were emotional. We found Ollie North guilty of crimes. Remember Ollie North in the old Iran-Contra affair? That happened. Jupiter in Cancer, very emotional issue for the country. Another emotional issue, Seinfeld premieres. Okay? Yeah, very emotional. This is where we're complaining about our emotions. Kind of interesting. Hurricane Hugo hit North Carolina. All right? Remember Hurricane Hugo? Big hurricane. A lot of emotion going on there. George W. Bush gives his first Union address to the United States. So we elect George W. Bush during Jupiter in Cancer, then we elect his stupid son the next Jupiter in Cancer. Coincidence? Okay. Okay. What else happened that year? The Exxon Valdez oil spill. Jupiter in Cancer. Remember that? Very emotional for the world. Mikhail Gorbachev is elected. Wow. Very, very emotional for the world, too. And you know, another ironic contra affair, John Poindexter was sentenced to prison. So was 89 an emotional year? I would say it was. Let's just peek at a couple more because it's just so fascinating. So I didn't do research completely on all these, but you know, the time before that was August 1977 to 78, and in essence, this was a very tense time for America. I don't know if you guys remember this time if you're old enough, but we were basically freaking out from Nixon's corruption, and we were all kind of like reorganize the country on the fly because suddenly government wasn't trusted after Nixon. 65 to 66, I didn't research very much because I didn't have time. 54 to 55, you can look at as well and kind of dive into what was going on in the social issues. But what's really interesting, of course, is diving a little deeper. June 1942, Jupiter goes into Cancer. That was also when we went into Europe, into World War II. Remember, we actually got the Pearl Harbor when Jupiter was in Gemini the year before, 1941, December 1941, and then Jupiter goes in Cancer. The Cancer Nation goes to war. Very interesting. 1930, June 1930, when's that? Well, that's 9 months after the stock market crash and the beginning of the Depression. So Jupiter in Cancer, the World Depression, right? And so on and so forth. So you guys get the point. Little astro history, kind of interesting. So I'm curious, you know, whoops, that was interesting, went backwards. As we move into our interaction part, I want to know from you guys, pick one of these dates and share with me an emotional issue you're going through personally, if you can remember from one of these dates, for those of you who are alive enough. I'm going to share with you what I was doing in 1930. When the Depression hit, it was hard on us. It was hard.
I thought you were so serious.
I was dealing with a breakup 12 years ago. That was emotional.
You're going through a breakup?
And now I am again 12 years later. And that's emotional.
Wow. Were they both Cancers?
No, one was a Scorpio and one was a Taurus.
Were they? Okay. Those are opposite signs. So that's kind of interesting. One of the features I was going to share about this is that in karma, this is one of the wizard tricks. And part of the wizard tricking is that you have to understand the nature of reality, the way things come back. Everything is cause and effect. Everything is law of attraction, law of reflection. And so as a result, the truth is that it usually takes 2 cycles of a planet in order to complete a full loop of karma, because a full loop of karma is a figure 8. It's not one circle. Karma is a figure 8. So, and I teach this all in class. So that said, if you look at these dates of how things were affected, well, in July, you know, right now, July 2013, so far Jupiter in Cancer, what's going on? Well, we've got Edward Snowden, who just stole a bunch of United States secrets and making us look real bad all over the world. So as soon as Jupiter went into Cancer, basically Jupiter was at 0 degrees Cancer when Snowden went on his run. And he went to Hong Kong, and Hong Kong's like, screw you, United States, and they sent him to Russia, and Russia's like, you know. And the United States is like, people don't like us? You know, oh my goodness. So you see that, but you also see emotionally uproars going on in Egypt. There's uproars going on in Syria. Thank you very much. They're rising up in Brazil for student rights protection. They're rising up in Greece again, you know. Great Britain is having a gigantic scandal right now because their hospital system just got found out that it was killing thousands and sweeping it under the rug.
Eugenics.
Yes, what is that?
Eugenics?
No, I'm not familiar with eugenics.
Oh.
Bring it up.
Oh, it's...
Something going on right now?
No, it's just a term for when people, like the medical community, like when Hitler was in power and he was doing, like medical tests, that's what it's called. But it's not just like that extreme, it's all sorts of like different medical things trying to tweak humans. Or kill them.
Right. And ironically, the Germans who were trying to tweak humans were tweakers. They were crystal meth addicts, and that's what happens. Thank you! I can work that one perfectly. So, I'm looking for shares. Go ahead, Marcia. Go ahead, G1.
I hear that on SoulMART, you're going to be helping us out with that Jupiter and Cancer. Do you want to tell us a little bit about the upcoming Jupiter and Cancer for SoulMART?
I do. Actually, I've created a new video. It's going to be coming out in a couple of days. I wish it was out today, but that's Jupiter and Cancer for you. Wish in one hand. Just kidding. But this video series is going to basically be like the Act 1 and Act 2 videos, and it's taken me a long time to do because I cover for a full year. So it looks at Jupiter and Cancer and what you can expect for the full year of your emotional growth. And of course, this year, 2013, 2014, is not going to be like any of these others. For the one hand, what I was about to say before the gong went off was that, you know, the last September 11th, that year with Jupiter was in Cancer, the United States were the victim. So we got victimized. Now in 2013, we are the perpetrator. We are the one that's hurting. And that's how karma works. You go from one side of the coin to the other. So all the dirty pull that we did is going to come out. And so therefore, this Jupiter in Cancer is very different. Part of the videos are going to focus on, you know, covering your sign and covering your rising sign, both in the same video, but also trying to figure out where are you in your cycle. Are you in the part where it's time to face up for where you've been wronged, is emotionally, or is it time for, you know, to face up where you've wronged others, or is it time to face up where people have wronged you emotionally? And with Saturn and Scorpio this time with Jupiter in Cancer, we're focusing on emotional boundaries in the background. In 2001, September 11th, Saturn was coming out of Taurus and into Gemini. And so the background of it was our values changing. The background of it was also our changing our thoughts and attitudes about things, which was terrorism. Now we're changing our actual feelings. So come on down to SoulMART.me in a couple of days. I'll let you know if you're on our email list when it's available, and you can get your rising and your rising sign. They cover you for the entire year, which the videos are long as a result, but this is a video you're going to watch over and over again because there's something more that sucks more. There's something that sucks more. Mercury retrograde for one more day, 24 hours.
My birthday's tomorrow.
I tried to hold out going on the air. But there's nothing that sucks more than being emotional and not being able to handle it, you know, and so that's what these videos are helpful for. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, J1. See? I'm going to call you different names.
We are so grateful for all your videos and your Witecks that help us get through. So if you guys haven't even got your Act 2 videos, be sure to get your Act 2 videos. It's an immediate download at SoulMART.me, and you can watch them over and over.